Okay. Okay, well, welcome to our leader training for January of 2026. I'm glad you all could join me. As you know, most of you who have been on these before, but I know we have some newer families and leaders on here. If you have questions at any time, you can just unmute yourself. I try to check on the chat box, but I sometimes miss it. But you guys are usually pretty good about letting me know if somebody has a chat in there, because I know not always can you use your microphones or that type of thing. So with that, we are recording this so that I can put it on YouTube as well, but I don't think I usually put it as public anyway. And with that, we're going to go ahead and get started because I have a full agenda today. And it doesn't look like it's very long because I've had longer agendas, but we're going to talk about Kansas 4-H policy. So every 2 to 3 years, I kind of give a basic update on Kansas 4-H policy, and we'll talk more about that. We're going to talk 4-H presentation day, of course, shooting sports requirements, livestock tagging, and we did have a new date for that for in Miami County at least. YQCA trainings and why our kids need to go to those. We're going to talk a little bit about volunteer training needs. So hopefully you guys saw my email out today. I know that was late and I'm sorry. It just kind of popped in my head of something that I should do. And I want to kind of see what you guys want to cover on some of these meetings. And then we have upcoming events and deadlines. And of course, we can talk about anything that you want to talk about as well. So if you have something that's coming up in your club that we need to discuss, at the end, I just kind of ask for questions or anything that we need to talk about, and we can do that. All right, so going in to Kansas 4-H policy. It's available online. Yeah, I don't think it's on the Marais website, but it is on it might be, and it is on the Kansas 4-H website. It is a large document, so if you really want to love policies and want to go through it, you can. It probably isn't a bad idea for our club leaders to actually know a little bit about it, but you can also come to me and help me, because I will be honest, I've helped rewrite it a couple different times. Maybe not this last one, but a couple times before. So I do have a pretty good grasp in my years on the policy handbook. So Kansas 4-H policy provides a consistent framework for 4-H programs throughout the state. And the policy handbook is a guide for the management of these programs in Kansas. So it's not just a guide, it is how we're supposed to handle things. A policy is created to ensure that the 4-H programming is consistent, fair, and legal. And it's important that we follow these policies, as failure to do so could result in dismissal from 4-H events, the 4-H program, or a loss of authorization to use the 4-H emblem and name. And this applies to all K-State Extension faculty, staff, so like myself, anybody in the Marais District offices. It applies to our extension district extension boards, volunteers like you all, and youth and families. So it is important that we kind of have an idea, especially you as club leaders, what our policies, at least a few of the policies, and have an idea of what's going on. So we're going to kind of talk a little bit first about positive youth development, because that's kind of where the policy starts with. And we talk about what is positive youth development. Well, you've probably heard me talk about positive youth development, specifically the Thrive model there that we're kind of using in Kansas 4-H now and 4-H across the United States. Positive youth development is an intentional pro-social approach that engages youth within their communities, schools, organizations, peer groups, and families in a manner that is productive and constructive. So positive youth development recognizes, utilizes, and enhances young people's strengths and promotes positive outcomes for young people by providing opportunities, fostering positive relationships, and furnishing the support needed to build on their leadership strength. So it's kind of that developmental context that when we were talking about the Thrive model, it's those sparks. So what what kids are passionate about. We want to make sure they feel like they belong, that they have those relationships with people, that they're getting relationships, and that they're engaged and they're learning. So that is the basis of our 4-H positive youth development. And 4-H positive youth development utilizes the latest science of youth development to educate, inform, and guide our 4-H programs. That's kind of where sometimes 4-H sets themselves apart from other youth development organizations, because we are research-based and we do come from universities. So we have that background of science-based curriculums. All right. So now really getting into the policy, one of the first things I want to share with you is, of course, the statement of non-discrimination. And, Kansas State University prohibits discrimination on the basis of race, color, ethnicity, national origin, sex, including sexual harassment and sexual violence, sexual orientation, gender identity, religion, age, ancestry, disability, genetic information, military status, or veteran status in the university's programs and activities as required by applicable laws and regulations. So this just means that your 4-H clubs cannot exclude members. There are no ways to do, you just can't do that. We can't do that in extension. We have to include everyone. And, really, I think that makes it cool because we get to learn about different cultures and different things that happen. And it makes us a very well-rounded organization. So with that, kind of talks about some things, because you guys are my club leaders and families as they come in a lot better than I do. I don't usually meet families until they're starting. They either have questions and coming to me, or they've been in 4-H for a while. So one of the things we have in 4-H is youth with special needs or disabilities. And 4-H programs should be designed to consider the needs of participants with special needs and disabilities. We're committed to making our services, activities, and programs accessible to all participants. If a youth participant has special requirements due to a physical, vision, or hearing disability, please contact me or have the parents contact me, and I will help them guide through the accommodations process. I have not done that. Well, I've done that once now before. We had a training here in the 1st of January, and we needed to provide a ALS or ASL, sorry, I got those mixed up, translator. And, it was a pretty quick process. It's just a form, and then I have conversations. I have a few conversations with the university, and they sent one out. So it's not a bad thing. And if we have some, we want to make sure that the 4-H is a positive experience for all of our youth. And if we have people who need this, we need to make sure that we get them on this process so that we can make it a positive youth development experience. Any questions on that? Because I know that's kind of a new thing that I haven't really talked about before. Okay. All right, enrollment. So in our Kansas 4-H policy, 4-H clubs are not permitted to include or exclude particular individuals or families from participating in 4-H programs. I am a big believer that there's a 4-H club that I'm a big believer that there's a 4-H club for everyone. And that all of our 4-H clubs have strengths and weaknesses as well. And you have to, as a family, you have to find the 4-H club that you fit in the best. So it might not always be the first 4-H club you try or anything like that, but there are clubs out there and you all do a great job, and they all have strengths, and they're doing their best. And sometimes, but the other thing is, as 4-H club leaders, you really cannot exclude any family. So if a family comes and wants to join your 4-H club, you have to let them join your 4-H club. Now, you may limit participation in clubs based on a couple things. Projects offered really in Kansas 4-H and the way we're doing, that's kind of hard. That would be more your project clubs where, you really need to be in the rabbit club or in the rabbit project to join the rabbit club, or you really need to be in the shooting sports project to join the shooting sports club. Now, that doesn't mean you can't be in other projects as well, but that's kind of how that works. Child protection ratios for safety. And we're going to talk a little bit about supervision ratios and how we did. So that's when the clubs are getting too big and you cannot manage them, or there's a safety aspect because we just don't have enough volunteer leaders to handle that. Ages of youth, really, I think that's more on basically, if they're under 5 and if they're over 19. And then project enrollment, we can do project enrollment deadlines. So, like shooting sports, you have to be enrolled before you start practices and safety training. We have deadlines for other things, like you have to be, we really should be enrolled in beef before you tag in your animals here in March, those type of things. So those are kind of our project enrollment deadlines. We don't have a lot of them in the Marais district, but those are a couple of them. But for the most part, your 4-H clubs cannot exclude anybody. You really, if you're still doing that, because I know my clubs are getting better, but I also know there's an old practice of you have to come to 3 meetings before you can join. We cannot do that anymore. That was from when I was in 4-H, and it's not an appropriate thing anymore. So if they came and want to join 4-H, you have to give them the information, and then they can follow up on 4-H online. I know it's not the easiest thing as club leaders, and I get that, because you want to know who's in your club. You also, sometimes they join in 4-H online and you've never met the family. I get that. It's hard. We try to steer as many as we can if they're not going to come to club meetings towards independent membership or project clubs, because they don't have to join a community club. They can just join a project club as well. But there are some policies we have to follow, and one of them is we cannot, we have to allow all of our club members into our clubs that want to come. So any questions on that? I feel like I kind of rambled. Okay. All right. So we've been talking about this. I usually do make this, but I just want to go over it one more time because I know we have some new leaders. Kansas 4-H policy for community clubs, which are those 4-H clubs that aren't project clubs. So Mound Builders, Busy Beavers, Trailblazers, all of those, Happy Go-Getters, Hillsdale Hustlers. So your guys are all what we call community clubs. And you need to be led by 2 or more screened or approved adult volunteers. So on this, I really need you guys to have more than 2, because you are supposed to have 2 at every activity. So if you have a club meeting and one of your club leaders is not able to be there, or, if you only have 2 and you have a club meeting and one can't make it, sick, has to work, you can't have a club meeting because you don't have the second person that's screened. Now, they don't have to be a club leader. They just have to be a screened and approved adult volunteer. So if you have that, I really need you guys to keep getting more and more of our parents screened. The same thing is if, you want to go on a field trip and maybe you're going up to the city for something. If you're taking any 4-H member that is not your own, you have to be, the person driving the car has to be a screened volunteer as well. So those are just a couple ways that, we probably do need to get some more screening. It's a free process. And once you've been through the screening, we automatically do the renewal every 3 years. So, but there is 3 steps to the screening, and people forget the steps, and we'll go over that here in a few minutes as well. Also, for minimum standards, you must enroll at least 5 youth from 3 different families. You're supposed to emphasize project exploration, leadership, and civic engagement. Conduct a minimum of 6 regular educational experiences per year. I suggest that you do 9 to 12. And part of that is just, if you're doing monthly, I think it keeps your 4-H club on people's mind and they don't lose track of when your meetings are. Select and elect youth leaders. Keep meeting and project and financial records and submit the required reports. and follow the state and in Marais District policy, 4-H policy, which I know at the last there in November, I kind of went through some of the Marais District 4-H policy, and now I'm going through the Kansas 4-H policy. And you have to be a chartered 4-H club. So project clubs, project clubs are where you actually do a specific project. We have a few project clubs still. We've lost several of them. We have a project club for rabbits. We have a project club in Miami County. We have a project club for rabbits. We have a project club for horse. And we have shooting sports, which is district wide. And I believe Lynn County has a horse. Well, I don't think they're a project club for horses doing anything right now, but and they might have a poultry, but that might be a project. They might not actually be a club. It might just be project meetings. So anyway, those are our project clubs. We also have what we call our leadership teams, which are kind of project clubs as well. They must be led by 2 or more screened and approved adult volunteers. They basically have the same exact rules as the other one. You need to enroll at least 5 youth from 3 different families. You want to emphasize project exploration, leadership, and civic engagement, usually within that project. And you can conduct a minimum of 6 regular educational experiences per year. You want to select and elect youth leaders, keep meeting project and financial records, and submit the required reports. And of course, follow state and Marais District 4-H policy and make sure you're chartered. Okay, so talking about supervision ratios. All 4-H related programs and activities should be supervised by at least 2 adult approved and screened volunteers. This practice is called 2-deep supervision, or 2-deep leadership is sometimes what we call it. And it's providing a safe environment for youth is our greatest responsibility. So any adult supervising youth at overnight 4-H sponsored events must meet the following requirements, which means you're screened and board approved, Kansas 4-H volunteer, you've did any training that needed, and you are over 21 if you're doing overnight. So that's kind of the thing. As you can see, we are, you're supposed to be 1 adult for every 5 to 6 year olds. You're supposed to have 1 adult for every 7 to 8 year olds. And this is for your like club meeting day participants would be like your club meetings. 1 adult for every 9 to 14, or 1 for every 10, 9 to 14 year olds, and 1 for every 12, 15 to 19 year olds. I know our clubs have a wide variety of range, but I just want to make sure you always have at least 2 people there. And hopefully you encourage parents to attend as well. So that helps you with some of those ratios. And if we can get more, especially if you have bigger clubs, if we can get some more of our adults volunteer screened, that would be good. Like I said, I'm not saying that means they have to step into leadership roles, although that would be awesome too. But it does help you as club leaders and take a little bit off your plate so you don't have to be everywhere at once. And it helps you make these ratios at club meetings as well. Any questions about that? Because I know that's also a new topic. Okay. All right, club finances. I've talked about this a lot, but annual financial reviews of the 4-H club accounts. So Kansas extension law, as well as federal and state expectations for use of all funds generated in support of extension programs, require the director of extension and extension council district boards, so in our case, an extension district board, to be accountable for all funds generated for extension programs within their jurisdiction. So when you fill out those annual financial reviews, they come to our office. I look over them, and usually somebody else looks over them as well. I sometimes have my program development committee look over them, or sometimes it's program managers and office staff. And then I take those to the extension district board, who is basically elected by the 2 counties, by Lynn and Miami County, and they have to approve them. in there and put them in the minutes that we have them and that everything is okay. When we make the cut, we do make notes on them and we put them back, give them back to you. So you do have notes on, hey, this is, maybe you need 2 signatures or you can't be related. The signatures cannot be related. All of those things. So the review committee cannot be related to anybody who's a signature. Those type of things happen, and we kind of give those back to you. And as long as they're not major things, we're just going to say, hey, going forward, you need to do this. If there's something major, then I'm probably calling you, and we're having a conversation about what's going on and how can we resolve this on that. But that is kind of the extent, and that's why the annual financial reviews are very important that you get them in by November 1st to give us time to review them in the office and get them to our board meeting, which is usually the first part of December. So it's really important that you get those as quick as possible to that. They're not just, the annual financial reviews aren't just for 4-H clubs, like our Extension Master Gardener program has to do one as well. So it is everyone that is basically raising money outside of our district budget. So the one thing I want to say is you need to make sure you have approved volunteers as signatories on 4-H accounts. So you guys can be on there as club leaders, and I know most of the time our banks are wanting, and even our policy actually says 2 approved volunteers as signatories on 4-H accounts. We usually try to put kids on, and right now our banks are allowing that, but I do know that there are banks that sometimes don't want kids on the accounts and makes it be adults. So just kind of know that as going forward, that could be some of our issues coming. But if you have an adult who's going to be a signature on the account, you need to make sure that they are an approved volunteer. So they have to go through our screened volunteer process, basically. And right now, there are no debit or credit cards in the club name. So please do not have a debit and credit card and for your club. I know that would make it easier. I get that. But I will be honest, it is way too easy to misappropriate funds when you have a debit or a credit card. We have enough problems with that, with online banking and checks. I have had several times in the past, I'm not going to, name names or anything, where somebody paid their mortgage out of a 4-H account on accident, or they transferred money into their checking account from the 4-H account instead of their savings account. So that's one of the reasons we're saying no debit and credit cards right now. I know the state's looking into maybe changing that, but right now we cannot do that. So, because it's just too easy to pull that out and accidentally use the wrong card and get us all in trouble. So, any questions on, oh, I know one other thing I was going to talk about. So I know that our treasurer's books can go in for office awards right there on the first part of October. If you are planning on doing that, please have your treasurers make a copy of their book, because we're judging them while you're trying to do financial reviews. So you either have to have your financial review done right before October 1st, or we need to make a copy of that book. And if you need us to make a copy of the book in our office, that's fine. But I just want to throw that out there because I know this year we had a little bit of an issue where they didn't get it back until, after achievement night. And it was the end of November before they could get their review committee to going. And that put us on a very big crunch to get it back and do everything we have to do and get it to our board by December 1st. So I just want to kind of throw that out there. If you have people doing, I don't want to discourage you from submitting your treasurer's books as a officer award, but we're going to have to do something to make sure that you can get that financial review in as well. All right. Another thing that should be in your bylaws and hopefully they all are. And that is basically that your club dissolution clause. So if for some reason you decided to no longer be a club, which hopefully none of you are going to do, you have to basically agree that all tangible real property, including money and equipment, shall become the property of a recognized 4-H or extension organization. So that basically means you have to give it to like 4-H council, leadership team, another club, or, because sometimes we combine clubs and I get that, or it has to go to 4-H Foundation. So it's not, you cannot transfer it to your club members. You can't transfer it to a leader for all their hard work throughout the years, because that money was raised in the name of 4-H and was supposed to be used for educational opportunities for 4-H members. So that's kind of how that goes. So I just kind of want to let you know that. Hopefully none of you are planning on, dissolving your club anytime soon. And if you happen to do that, be sure and contact me so we can talk about it first. Just a reminder that your club constitution and bylaws, I need a current copy that I keep in a file in my office. I know I pulled one out. We had a question about somebody, one of the club leaders and I were talking about it, and there was a question that came out, and I pulled up their bylaws, and the one I had was from 2006, and they were like, well, no, we've updated it since then. So please turn those in when you update them, or if you don't mind, just give me a copy of them. I would appreciate it. That it just makes it easier. If there's questions, I can pull them out. We can talk about it over the phone easier, or email, even if I have a copy of them. You can email them to me and I'll print them out and put them in my file. But I do keep a file of those. So please make sure, please give, I would like, I'm going to request that everyone gives me one. I will be honest. I'll send out an email about that later. But all right, moving on to Kansas 4-H policy on 4-H volunteers. So as we said, we need to make sure that we are getting our adult volunteers screened. So make sure that you have all individuals who work directly with youth are required to complete the Kansas 4-H volunteer screening process. So what that is you do a 4-H online profile, and actually this is kind of in a backwards order because it's an older slide, but you want to do a background check, and it's a separate website that we do the background check on. So you do a background check first. Once you get that done, you should get an email that says your results or that it's complete. If you will forward that on to Tracy Lindsay, she kind of takes care of all of our volunteer screening for the district. So she will get that to you. Then you have to do a 4-H online profile as a new volunteer, which just basically says that you're going to be an adult volunteer. There are references, I believe, still, but we don't usually actually check references unless there's an issue that comes up. We an interview, but most of the time I've known most of you. But if there's somebody I don't know, I do sit down and interview them. There's an orientation which is online in 4-H Online, and I have been told that there's hope in the next few years that we will redo that, because I know it's getting a little bit older. But that, and then they have to go to district board approval. We do rerun background checks every 3 years. It's just automatically. We send the list into the state and they say yes. And you must enroll in 4-H online annually. And even if you're not, if say for something, you're club leader, you're only here for a couple of years and then you're rotating off or something, if you rotate off, I would still be sure and enroll yourself as a volunteer online, just because it's always nice to have those volunteers that are screened in case you need somebody to fill in as that second person at a club meeting, or to get your supervision ratios that you need at an activity, or to drive kids somewhere. All of those things are just easier done if you are a volunteer, a screened volunteer. The other thing is screened volunteers, so they need to be club leaders. If you have any project leaders, they need to be screened volunteers. A lot of our superintendents are screened volunteers. Those are all important things because screening, it's just a protection for you. It gives you a little bit of insurance. It puts you on our liability insurance. So if something, if some accusation happened, which hopefully never will, um, we can help cover some of that. And it also just protects you and our kids. And that's what we're all here for. We want to protect everyone as much as we can. So it's just an important thing. And it's, I would encourage everyone to go ahead and get screened. It's not that hard of a process. There's no money anymore out of you. It's paid for by the Miami County 4-H Foundation and the Marais District Extension Board. So, encourage people to be volunteer screened. So that's my little rant, I guess, today. Okay, with that, we are through 4-H policy. It only took me 33 minutes. So, any questions about 4-H policy so far? Okay. All right, moving on to some other things. Presentation Day, February 22nd at Prairie View Middle School. Registration is due February 2nd. Sign up for times and room monitors by club will be out shortly after that. We're hoping by the end of that week, and you'll have about a week to sign up for the times. As usual, we will assign times to our groups. So if there's a reason you need us later in the afternoon, or I shouldn't say afternoon, because we'll probably be done by 1 unless we have an influx of people signing up. But if you need to be later morning or earlier morning, then let us know. Schedule will be out about the February 17th timeframe. We will do setup on February 21st at 8 a.m. This is a great way to mark a checkbox on your club seal as a county committee, as well as on 4-H PIN applications as well. So this would count as a county committee on both of those. And we will start judging about 9 a.m. So it's, the more help we can get, the quicker we can get done, and the easier it all will go. Shooting sports requirements. So you have to attend safety trainings for shooting sports, which I know some of them have already started, and that's okay. We do have a minimum age of 8 for BB and archery, and the others are actually above that. So unfortunately, 7-year-olds are not allowed to be in shooting sports at this time. Archery, you have to have attended 5 classes minimum to shoot for fair. And BB and air rifle, you have to have attended 8 classes minimum for fairs. All of the fair shoots are in Miami County, and that's just because that's where we have the volunteer shooting sports instructors and coordinator. And you have to have those things to actually have shoots. And we are constantly looking for people who want to volunteer and help with shooting sports. You do have to go through a training, and it's pretty intense. It's usually like an entire weekend or Saturday, Sunday, sometimes Friday, Saturday, or Friday evening, Saturday, and Sunday. So if you're interested in that, please reach out. And I'll get you in touch with our shooting sports coordinator, Shannon, about that. And all practices and information are on our Marais website under 4-H Youth Development, and then projects, and we have those all there. Beef tagging. So it is coming right up. So if you have market beef or breeding, commercial breeding, I should say, Miami County is March 22nd from 5:30 to 7 p.m. at the fairgrounds. Lynn County is March 6th from 6 to 7 p.m. at their fairgrounds. So be sure and go to either one of those. Sheep, goat, and swine tagging, and this is where we have a new date for Miami County. They're going to be April 26th from 4 to 8 at the fairgrounds. So that is a new date, and I know Caitlin just finalized that like today. So it'll be coming out to families shortly. I think it goes on Facebook tomorrow. So we're trying to get the word out there, but I wanted you guys to be aware of it as well. And Lynn County is May 22nd from 6 to 7 p.m. So those were both in our policy guide that went out to all 4-H members who were enrolled last year, and also goes out to anybody as they enroll this year. But there is a change on that because April 26th is a different date than what was in there. So I want you guys to all be aware of that. YQCA classes. So you must have this if you are showing beef, sheep, swine, or meat goats at either fair and the 4-H department, 4-H or FFA departments. So the trainings are at the Pale office on March 17th at 10, March 17th at 2, April 15th at 6:30, or May 27th at 6:30. We also have a training in the Linn County 4-H building on March 25th or May 27th at 6. And there's a training in the Linn County office on June 10th at 2. You can also do online training on your own. Just be sure to email your certificates if you go to if you do the online training to Caitlin, so we have proof that you have completed that. But that is a must, and yeah. So okay, with that, this is kind of what I emailed you out. I want to kind of know from you, what kind of programs would you like to see? So this is your time to speak and tell me, what would you like to see the Marais District 4-H program? Where would you like to see it go? What would you like to see happen? Is there something that you feel like we're missing? Yeah. So any ideas?
I don't have any major insight to offer other than, as I was reading through the questions, the idea of doing some project leader training, I think, is a good idea. I think that would give good direction. So I want to encourage that we, have that. But yeah, as for new ideas to bring, I don't have any at the moment. I just want to share.
One of the things we had. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, Jess.
We have project leaders and mound builders that they've been project leaders like in electrical. We have an electrician who signs up to be the project leader for mound builders, but he doesn't know what that means. I don't know what that means, except that, if somebody's in the electricity project, that he helps them with their project, maybe. I think project leader training would be awesome, but I have no idea what topics we should cover. I don't know.
Okay. I see we have Julie said educational opportunities regarding showmanship. Okay. We have done those in the past, but it has been a couple years. Cooking. Okay. Which we do a little bit of cooking. We don't do a lot, but we have had some workshops. One of the other things that I would encourage you, this kind of came up at leadership team the other night, and I would encourage you guys to encourage any of your older youth who have some skills. If they're wanting to teach a workshop like county-wide or district-wide, either one, maybe they want to do a visual arts workshop or they want to do a cooking workshop, if they will contact Bridget or myself, we will help them get started and we will help be the leaders for that, or find leaders that can help them with those. So, we're kind of missing that right now. We used to have several 4-Hers who would teach every once in a while, and we don't have that right now. So, I'm willing to do that. Just like I'm willing, if you have a project leader who wants to do something, I will. Now, I will be honest, I'm not the best at telling them that we need to do, because I know I had a fishing project leader that wanted to do fishing, but they wanted me to tell them when to do fishing project meetings and how to do fishing project meetings. And I leave that up to you because you guys know your schedule, and we can send stuff out if you're having something. That's great too. So that's kind of the fine line we're walking on that. But anything else? Okay. Something that would educate us in regarding what judges look for in different projects. There are a few things on there. I will be honest. That one's probably a harder one because every judge looks for a little bit different. But we do have some score sheets that are available on the state 4-H website that would probably give you an idea of some of the things that they're looking for. But okay. Is there anything you guys are needing? Do you feel comfortable in your role as club leader? Is there things that you're needing me to cover? Or I know this is kind of off the cuff too, and I get that that's hard, but how are you guys feeling as club leaders?
As one of the newer club leaders for the county right now, I'm trying to take in anything and everything, advice and ideas. The last council meeting, it was council meeting when you asked, how do we welcome members? Man, I was taking notes because that's lots of great ideas in an area that we were lacking in. So, yeah, I'm not going to say no to any additional ideas.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I do. So one of the reasons we do that little thing at 4-H Council is to share ideas among the clubs. One of the reasons I usually do the question at the beginning of this one is also to share ideas among clubs. So I hope you guys are finding those a little bit beneficial. I know sometimes I struggle with what to ask, but I do try to. That is kind of to get you guys sharing and get ideas from what others are doing. Because I know we have some great ideas. You all do a wonderful job, and all of our 4-H clubs do it great. Have unique ideas that they're doing, and we just need to share those and make sure that everyone knows. And you can come up with your own from them. So, anything else that you guys are thinking that you need as volunteers? Okay. Okay. Well, I will be honest. Especially since there's only like 6, 7 of you on here, I am probably going to send out an email to everyone and maybe a survey. It might not be till February that I get that done, but to kind of talk about it, I might actually talk about project leaders as well. And if so, when I say topics, I'll kind of do like some topics on that. So, it kind of sounds like you guys were thinking that even just planning a meeting and what your role is. But yeah. And we will try to get that. I'm not going to say that it's going to happen. Unfortunately, it might not happen until next fall. But we'll see what we can do and we'll get something done. It's kind of been on my radar, something I need to come. I've done it a couple different times in my career, but it's been a while since we've done it, project leader training. So I think that's a good one. So, okay. Well, thank you for your input. And if you want to think about these a little bit and you have some more if you have more ideas for these, please feel free to just email me or, let me know what we can help with. If something happens in your club and you're needing something, club related, let me know on that as well. So I am here to help. All right, upcoming events. We have Art After School, which we had an awesome one at Paola. Mountain City, it's new this year, so it's taking a little bit of time to get it going. But they'll be from 4 to 5 on February 18th and February 19th. And this time we're doing decoupage. So we're going to have little containers that they get to decoupage using tissue paper or napkins. So we're looking for some leftover decorative napkins as well. So if you have any of those and want to donate them to me, I will take them. Clover buds, just a reminder, we do a monthly clover buds. It's for those 5 to 6 year olds. It's from 5:30 to 6:30 p.m. We do it on the second Thursday of the month in the Paola office and on the first Thursday of the month in the Mound City office. And it's a great way to kind of learn more about the projects. We take a project each month and kind of talk about it and do activities around that project, so they get an idea of some things they can take when they actually become 4-H members, real 4-H members. Not that they aren't 4-H members. So like this month, we're doing wildlife, and we're going to do some tracks and talk about some different things on that. We have some other things coming up. I know there's going to be a plant one coming up soon. I can't remember what all else we have. We just did fiber arts here in January. So it's a lot of fun and a great way. And if you have any 5 to 6 year olds, I know some of you are doing things at your club meetings, and that's fine. But if you want to send them our way, that's fine too. Regional Presentation Day, 4-H Day, whatever you want to call them now, will be March 21st at Baldwin. So put that on your calendars. And just a reminder, we are doing Touch a Truck again in Miami, in Paola. And so it's April 11th at the Miami County Fairgrounds from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Be watching as we get closer to March. We will probably be sending out signups for volunteers. Or if your club wants to do something there, I know we have the treat or snack type thing done, the concession stand. But if there's a activity around farming or careers and some of those things, and you want to do that, we'd be glad to have you there. And of course, all the volunteers, we always need volunteers. So just a little bit, because I do know there's some of you who are new. Upcoming deadlines, as you know, May 1st is our new member enrollment deadline. It's also our add or delete projects. You should be able to go into your 4-H online accounts once they've been approved and payment has been received by K-State. And you can edit your projects. And by editing them, you can delete them or add projects. June 1st, horse ID certificates are due. So if you have any 4-Hers members who are in the horse project, they need to have those horse ID certificates due or into our office by June 1st. And they also need to make sure to make sure it's the current form. So I think the form we're using now says 2025 on it. July 1st is Miami County Fair pre-entries due. We're still hoping to have our fair books out about that May 1st, first part of May. That seemed to work really well last year, and I think it was a big help for everybody. So we've been pushing for that, and we finally got it, and I think we're going to get it again this year. So hopefully that'll work out. And then those of you in Lynn County, July 15th is Lynn County Fair pre-entries to be due. So unfortunately, it's coming quicker than I'm ready for. Fair and summer. All right. Any questions or anything that you guys need to talk about? Anything that's happening? All right. Well, with that, I think you all know where to find me if you have questions or need any help. Just thank you all for being club leaders and helping grow our 4-H program. You're doing a great job. Just continue and know that I'm here if you need any help. So if you have questions, feel free to ask me. We're here to help. And we couldn't be Miami County or Marais District 4-H without all of you helping our 4-Hers do all these things. So thank you all. Have a good day. And I appreciate you hopping on.
Thanks, Karla.
Thanks, Karla.